out the shadow of Minty, I'm going to head his well to open up the way according to law. Islam, Grandman.
Islam. Can you hear me, Goddess and Queen? Hold up. Here.
Unmuted.
Islam. Can you hear me, Goddess and Queen?
Islam National Assistant Grand Sheik. If you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Okay. Islam, can you hear me now?
Islam. Gratitude.
Gratitude. Islam. 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 Islamism. Islam, Moorish America. Well, let us rise upon the seventh and give all praises to the great God, Allah, our Father God, Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Hajj, Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. But let us come forth with our ancient Comedian Adept Moorish American prayer. And as we come forth, we ask that you open up your hearts and minds as we open up the way. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Ya Allah abnu heru makuneteru, Ya Allah abhed heru, Ya Allah ma'at heru, Ya Allah hutep heru, Ya Allah heru, Ya Allah ma'at herakuti, Ya Allah ahwajet dejuti, Ya Allah per im sutek per im heru, Ya Allah bamaduti, Allah hajat shepsis reab to Ali. Amen. Halayasu, Halayasu, Halayasu. And that is the same Moorish kin in transliteration. O Allah, the Father of the universe. O Allah, the Father of love. O Allah, the Spirit of truth. O Allah, the Spirit of peace. O Allah, the Spirit of freedom. O Allah, the Spirit of justice. O Allah, you are my protector. O Allah, you are my guide. O Allah, you are my salvation by night and by day. O Allah, through your holy prophet. O Allah, Drew Ali. Amen. Aliyassa, Aliyassa, Aliyassa. Islam, Moorish kin. And now we come forth before you with the divine constitution of Moorish America, salvation, our God, unity, the seven supreme constitutional acts of law. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of Moorish America empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs, if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. The bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh. And on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you're part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. No organization of Moorish Americans that cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali the prophet to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All citizens must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you're entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, peace and blessings be upon him, founding father and framer of the divine constitution and bylaws of Moorish America. And now that this meeting has been open according to the triune acts, Acts 1, 2, and 3 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we say Islam, Islam, Islamism. The providence of Allah is ever all his works. He ruleth and directeth with infinite wisdom. He hath instituted laws for the government of the world. He hath wonderfully varied them in all beings, and each by his nature, conforming to his will. Unqua Jet Chanel, life, health, and prosperity be upon you, Moorish America. We love you.
Islam, Islam, Islam. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh for opening up the way according to law. I am the National Grand Secretary of the state of Indiana, Dr. Saad Matthew Hetulu El, and I rise giving perfect praises to our Father God Allah and the highest honors to our Holy Prophet, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. I would like to extend honors to all of Act 1 and our theocratic Moorish American government. Honors to our Royal Council, honors to our Grand National Seal, our Grand National Emblem, and our Grand National Flag, the Moorish flag. And honors to our Divine Constitution and bylaws. Honors to all of you Moorishkin for being here in our Moorish Perspective class. Islam, Islam, Islam. Chapter 37, Divine Ministry of Yehoshua. Yehoshua goes to the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains 40 days, is subject to 3 temptations. He overcomes, returns to the camps of John, and begins teaching. The Harbinger had paved the way. The logos had been introduced to men as love made manifest, and he must now begin his divine ministry. And he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and know its strength and worthiness. And with himself he talked. He said, my lower self is strong. By many times I am bound down to cardinal life. Have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? When I shall stand before the face of men, and they demand a proof of my messiahship, what will I say? And then the tempter came and said, if you be the Son of Allah, command these stones to turn to bread. And Yehoshua said, who is it that demands a test? It is no sign that one is a son of Allah because he does a miracle. The devils can do mighty things. Did not the Gentile magicians do great things before his Pharaoh? My words and deeds in all the walks of life shall be the proof of my messiahship. And then the tempter said, if you will go into Jerusalem and from the temple pinnacle cast down yourself to earth, the people will believe you are the Messiah sent from Allah. This you can surely do. For did not David say, he gives his angels charge concerning you, and with their hands will they uphold you, lest you shall fall. And Yehoshua said, I will not tempt thy Lord, my God Allah. And then the tempter said, look forth upon the world. Behold its honors and its fame. Behold its pleasures and its wealth. If you will give your life to these, they shall be yours. But Yehoshua said, away from me all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. I spurn this carnal self with all its vain ambition and its pride. For 40 days did Yehoshua wrestle with his carnal self. His higher self prevailed. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him, and they ministered to him. Then Yehoshua left the wilderness, and in the consciousness of holy breath, he came into the camps of John and taught, Islam, Islam, Islam. Today is February the 11th, 2023, and welcome to another Moorish Perspective class sponsored by our Moorish American government. Our host instructor will be our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amohedji Shepsuel, with our subject title coming out of our chapter of the week, chapter 37, Ayat 2. And Ali went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and know its strength and worthiness. Gratitude to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amohedji Shepsuel, for opening up the way according to law. And gratitude to our National Grand Secretary of the State of Indiana, Dr. Sa Nasiru Hajaru El, for reading the chapter of the week and also taking the registration. Moors can kindly check your emails and also keep your pens and papers on hand. We are live streaming. Gratitude. At this time, I'll call to the floor our National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shedo Aminti Amohedji Shepsuel. It is long, Grandman.
Islamism, can you hear me, sis?
Gratitude, I can hear you. Peace and love.
Gratitude. Islam, Islam, Islam. Islam, Moorish America. Want to rise first and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Hajj, Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our holy prophet brought to make us a nation. Want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin on the manifest, whom have come forth to bring their measures and everything it is that they have to offer, from the treasures, which are the gifts of the understanding that the great God Allah has placed within your particular consciousness. There are no strange happenings. We are here because we were destined to be so. And we on the manifest to bring forth a divine measure from those treasures that we may be able to uplift fallen humanity here, there, and everywhere. We were divinely ordained to be here in this new era in time. So it's a grand drawing just to have divine insight in this era in time, because most of our people don't know what divinity is, because we have been so removed from the knowledge of self and everything else outside of the self, even to where there has been a conflict that has been brought forth that can't always be told in words. We have to bear witness to these special measures as they begin to unfold, so to speak. So yeah, these are some powerful measures that we had to bring on the manifest. I want to welcome our family again to our Moorish Perspectives. As I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Amohadi Shabazz El. My ancient committee and high name again is Dr. Shedawamenti El Mohedjit Shepsuel. And we have a powerful drawing family to bring our family into some insight. So we ask that you have your paper and your pen on handy, because we're going to take our people down through there and back up through there. And so we encourage our family also to share this live stream that we are broadcasting, and get the message out there to our family. We want to give honors to our brother Jeff Billingsley for showing up faithfully. Our family Noble Brian faithfully. Marquise Amin Bay faithfully. Want to give honors to all of you. And like I said, make sure that you share these special demonstrations so that we can get these drawings out there to our family, that they too may be able to partake in these grand drawings that we had to bring on the manifest. Like I said, we have a magnanimous program to bring to our Moorish kin. And this is all about the divine ministry of El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. How he goes into the wilderness for self-examination in all actuality. And in essence, I also sent the chapter out too for our Moorish kin who may look forward to the chapter so that our family can go into that special documentation and have a guideline to move according to. We give honors to all of those who have aided and assisted and opened up the way. And we encourage our family again, please share this information. Also, honors to our beloved goddess and queen Janet Wooten Bay and sister Lisa Nicole Moria Bayel. Honors to you as well for showing up faithfully. And for those who would like to tune in to our conference call, feel free to tune in at we can actually tune in at on if you go into our website, you can go there. But also, if you look for the number, it's actually 609-746-1180. And 639-381 # is the access code. So feel free if you would like to tune in or chime in as well on our conference call, because we are actually streaming here, but we are also demonstrating on our conference call as well. And so anybody that would like to come forth is more than welcome. That's why we open up, so that we can hear from our family, so that we can get your perspectives and get your grand drawing, that we may know where our people are along the way, and that they may add on to what it is that we are here to build. And that's the temple of perfection. So, again, we want to focus on the ayat in reference to dealing with our holy prophet, because we know in order for us to bring these teachings up to date where we are right now, we ain't changing nothing, we ain't adding nothing on. What we doing is giving you a front row seat to see how these special measures, apply in reference to dealing with the prophet, you know, and what it is that he has come forth to demonstrate to our people. Even though many of our people are hard-headed, stiff-necked, uh, mean set of people that ain't never done nothing except at the point of the scimitar. So Ali went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note its strength and worthiness. This is our journey as well. We too must go forth into the wilderness and be alone with the great God, that he might look into our inner heart and note its strength and worthiness. That's what all of these tests are about. When we talk about the brotherhood tests, and when we talk about the trials and the things that we have to come through in order to become masters of the self, because it's all about self-mastery, family. You have to master the self in order to be the message that you bring, and therefore be able to be qualified. This is where your criteria comes into play at, and your qualification, of you being certified to be a divine minister. It is the great God Allah who then will confirm your title, and exercise through you, the proof of your messiahship, so to speak. So I got a few drawings I want to bring on the manifest, because we've been doing a lot of drawings in relation to going into Kemet. And we're going to touch on some words that's relative to our chapter as we go through this special demonstration, because we want to make sure our people get a clear conception of this. So what I'm going to do first and foremost, I'm going to share my screen here. And in so doing, we're going to put our chapter up here, and we're going to basically flow with the commentary, so to speak. So, chapter 37, the divine ministry of Yehoshua. We know Prophet Noble Drew Ali as Yehoshua come again. So again, we can see this as Ali going through the wilderness for self-determination. And as we demonstrate the principle Allah, Ali, and we, Allah, Ali, and you, Allah, Ali, and us, and all of that demonstration, we too, again, all that he has done, we too must do. We have to go within our wilderness for self-examination. You see? Now, we have a choice. We can do this in a 7-day period. We can do it in a 40-day period. But nevertheless, we must understand that we too will be subjugated if we ain't careful, but really subjected to the 3 temptations that Yehoshua was able to overcome during his time, that our holy prophet was able to overcome during his time. So we have great examples of triumph, great examples of Allah leading on in victory assured, that we too will be able to overcome as well. And we ain't talking about going around singing no songs, talking about we should overcome one day, and we ain't making no mockery, but we talking about really getting with the business. So after we are able to do this, we return as conquerors. And Yehoshua himself returned to the camp of John and began teaching. Powerful demonstration. Just as our beloved brother Marcus Most High Garvey L laid a foundation, prepared the way, or paved the way as the harbinger for our holy prophet Noble Drew Ali. See, he did so and introduced to our people Prophet Noble Drew Ali, love made manifest. And he did indeed demonstrate his divine ministry. Again, that in which they did, that in which our prophet did, and the harbinger we all must do. We want to keep that in mind as we go through this measure tonight. This is not something where we just lay the burden on them and talk about what they did and romanticize about it. But this is a drawing to where we actually deal with our own tests. So this is a powerful demonstration. Everything that we went through, whether we know it or not, there was a harbinger state of preparation that led us to this fulfillment where we are now. That's why we are pure in heart and we can recognize our king. And therefore, if we can recognize the king, we can recognize the kingdom within. Not from the standpoint of a Roman dictatorship or European. No, we're talking about being governors of the self. If these lessons are not applicable to the extent to where they make us governors of the self or executive rulers of the self, then we must be doing something wrong. So I want to touch on, again, some words in here before I go deeper into this special chapter. For example, the word divine. Like I said, we've been going through a lot of drawings dealing with the teachings of Kemet. And I got a few words up here I took out. And I'm gonna get into some metaphysics along with this special drawing as well. Because anytime you're dealing with a measure like this right here, you're really dealing with divinity. You're dealing with divinity. So what we have here, I just want to get into a few words by definition. I'm going to go into, some drawings on some of the symbolism here too as well in reference to dealing with these definitions. What we see here is set netriet, right? And this set netriet represents the divine state, right? And we can see it being expressed twice here, But we see, certain expressions when it comes to the symbols. We see a semicircle. The semicircle always is most likely depiction of the rising of the sun above the horizon, so to speak. You see? And once the sun is rising, this represents a new dawn, a new birth, so to speak, a rebirth, a coming into consciousness, if you will. And we see what is often referred to as reeds. Well, the reeds actually represent the garden of divinity, which is Sekhet Aru. We ain't dealing with no alphabets. We talking about dealing with an actual expression of being able to read the book of creation. So the reeds, or the field of reeds, had always been depicted by our ancestors as, basically a symbol of their heaven. One of them anyway, which represented a state of existence. Even when you go into the term, they say Sekhet Aru or Sekhet Allah. Allah represented a state of being or a state of existence. And this is why when we go back to our chapter, if we go back into it now and say he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note its strength and worthiness. So this is going within one's divine state of existence. Set netriet. You see? Or you can say set netriut, whichever vowel you want to put in there, either one. All is well. So we see the rising of consciousness within one's divine garden. One is rising, and as we know, the sun actually has influence upon what come forth from the soil. So if the soil is healthy, and the beams of the sun strike the soil, then all of the nutrients, the minerals, and so forth and so on that are needed in order to ensure that that garden flourishes takes place. And this is the same thing about us. We, being a seed planted within the soil of soul, that divine wisdom or that divine sun of divinity striking the soil of that soul that we may unfold and grow apace, gives us the ability to come into our divine state. And we already know what we see here for those who can see what we have up here in front of us. You see the flag that comes behind that, and that represents God. So we see the rising from the soil, the God, right? Rising of consciousness, and we see God. In other words, this represents yourself. Then if we go further over here, we see another symbol that is often depicted as what they would call a house. You see, we can see the same semicircle above that, which actually represents the raising up of a house. And it speaks of this in the Grand Quran in Surah 24, ayats 35 and 36, when it's Al-Nur is the name of the light. Nur and Nura, and Ra represents the sun. So it says, lit is such a light in houses that are permitted to be raised. The house is the temple of perfected man. You see, it is the great God Allah who had permitted us to be raised up into the divinity, or raised up into our consciousness to be temples of perfection. A temple of perfected man, a master of Allah's nature. Moorish American National, right? MAN, temple of perfected man. That take the gem out of, take it all the way up out of it, if you understand it properly. So we can see also the raising process in relation to the 3 steps that's also depicted on the side of this. See, we ain't used no ABCs and none of that right there. This is just giving you the teaching by observing what it is that we see, and we letting you know that this ain't got nothing to do with trying to take some, and sound this out in the form of phonetics, but we're dealing with the metaphysics of these symbols right here. That's something they ain't been able to teach you. So again, divine consciousness, the raising of divine consciousness coming forth within your God consciousness, God, the house, temple of perfection, 3 steps: belief, faith, and fruition, because that's the only way you can be raised up into your divine state. Set netter yet is what we call it again, right? So we want to keep this in mind when we go back to our chapter and we think about divine ministry of Ali, Yehoshua, our divine ministry. In order for us to have a consciousness of the ministry, we must be in a divine state. That's why Yehoshua had to go through all of those tests to bring him out of the previous state that he was in into being in his highest state of consciousness. So you must be in a divine state of mind in order to demonstrate divine ministry. This is what we are establishing here. Now, if you really pay attention to it, we're reading the book of creation right now. Now, notice it said Yehoshua goes to the wilderness for self-examination, where he remains for 40 days, is subjected to 3 temptations. Now, we can see that one has the ability to overcome that just by the exegesis that we gave on the symbols. Because if you can come up the 3-step ladder, then you overcame your 3 temptations. You see? You in your divine state, right? Now, want to deal with that word wilderness in a minute, but I want to go further again because I have another word too, which is normally, as we've seen it, netter. And netter Let me blow that up a little bit right there. Neter, even Netri, and that's actually the word that traces back to the Indus Valley civilization too. That word is connected to the name God, also representing nature. You see? So it is in our nature to be God. So when you think about the nature and you think about neter, and then you think about the neteru, you know, this goes into the agents of godliness, the agents of divinity, so to speak. So you see netri, which is divine or sacred. So when you hear us talking about these sacred lessons and the sacred groves, this is the only place where the divine seed can be cultivated, that one spring up a God from that garden of their own divinity. You see? So we see also here Neter sitting in front, well, sitting with the flag out front, the ayat Neter, the sign, Neter, God, planning that as special demonstration. Because that's what we do. We also have the responsibility of planting our standards within the soil of our soul, just as one would plant a flag into the earth, right? So this is to express the standard of divinity, being God, i.e., through the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and countless other attributes that have to do with a high state of consciousness and vibration in uplifting a people, that they too may be a vessel of the Creator and manifest that attribute or many attributes as God in reality, as God made manifest, so to speak. This ain't nothing spooky. And the last one we had here was actually Netri, which is divine and sacred. And a lot of time they like to say, well, this is the opening of the mouth, you know, it's special drawing. Well, that's dealing with a person, place, a thing. This is the way they should have always been teaching on the metal netta, as opposed to trying to make an alphabet. We know that these words come from what we call hieratic. So we ain't got to go into that right now. We can prove that there's hieratic that relate to this. In fact, I'll give you a prime example right now. I'm going to do this right here while we're on the screen, because I do have my molar tool right here. I got it right here on the manifest. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull up. So when I say it's in hieratic, y'all know what hieratic is. And it don't sound like I'm speaking nothing foreign to our people. I want to show you what this look like in hieratic. Okay, so it's actually R8. And so once we pull it up, R8 is going to bring us the hieratic. There it is right there. This is the hieratic expression here. And again, you see what it says here? Nature. Nature. Right there. So we know it's the same drawing. No matter how far you go, it's expressed the same way. And they have many different ways that people, you know, have wrote based upon the way they write. And so as time went on, the European went and tried to create these pictorial symbols to represent these letters that already existed in hieratic, and they were trying to shape, mold, and sculpture, you know, what they created from these drawings. But using the symbols that are on the manifest, and this is Neteru right here. You notice with the Neteru demonstration, there's an expression. These are alphabets to them, but these are people, places, and things to us. I'm just speaking in general. These are things that take place or occur in creation. So when you see three of these flags, if one represents Neter, then the three of them represent Neteru. You see, these are not letters to us. These are people, places, and things. We want to emphasize that so you don't get confused. You see, so we read the book of creation by observing, what takes place in creation. So we can see here that a flag actually represents your divinity. A grand national seal, grand national emblem represents your divinity. But you have to plant the principles for which they stand into the soil of your soul. If we say one represents salvation, or one represents our God, one represents our unity, circle 7 as a nation, then we have to plant these things within us, or be able to identify them within ourselves to truly achieve being in that divine state, which allows us to bring forth our divine ministry. See, you can't give what you don't have. So if you don't have love in the soil of your soul, then whatever you bring forth from that garden, you ain't gonna manifest no love. So you got to plant seeds of love within the soil of your soul in order that you may unfold. You have to plant seeds of truth, peace, freedom, and justice in order that you may unfold. You see? And again, the prophet brought it in all simplicity. 5 divine principles. If you live those, then you become the vehicle through which divinity is able to express itself to those who have become fallen amongst humanity, in order to lift them from the muck and the mire of their lower selves into a higher state of consciousness. Islam, right? So I just wanted to show that to our family. We can do it all day going back to show you that these things existed in hieratic before they became expressed in pictorial form, the way the European try to demonstrate it, as far as when it comes to sacred writings. And these symbols, no doubt, were created by our ancestors, but they demonstrated the metaphysics of it, just like I'm doing right now. So we deal with the speaking of the great God. And this is divine or sacred speech, you see, which is often in a measure that's demonstrated in what we call divine offerings, which is Hotepu Neta, right? You hear our chairman always say, we want to thank our Moors for, everything it is that they're able to bring to the manifest, our divine, constitution and, divine everything. The chairman, you're going to hear him say divine, because it is. But you have to have a divine state of mind in order to comprehend what you have. In fact, you hear him giving honors to the Moors for their contributions. So when you say Hotepu Neter, you're talking about divine offerings, which are divine contributions, right? This is dealing with the actual definition that's being given, right? Meaning it's coming from the causeless cause, the rootless root. That's what divine means. It comes from the treasures, again, of the great God Allah within you. Your gifts of the understanding are of the treasures of Allah. Islam, Hotepu Neta, divine offerings. Man can't give you nothing divine. You see? It's the great God Allah that gave you divinity. That's why we couldn't give a lot of them crazy ones that come out of the north that God state, but that's a whole nother drawing. So here you can see what is often expressed again in forms of a plurality of expression. And we're talking about divine offerings now. And you can see all of these are particular measures that have to do with offerings that are being brought on the manifest, right? And I can't help but see this is special drawing as it relates to dealing with what I would call sacred geometry in the circle, or the winding out of a thing. I can see the material measures here. I can see again that semicircle. And this symbol is a symbol that expresses Hotep here, right? So in other words, these are offerings of peace, and this represents the multiplicity of the offerings. That's what the plurality is. But this comes forth from spirit, because we know that the hawk, or the bird that is perched here, is a symbol of spirit. So there's much that can be offered from the divinity that we have within us, being that God self, again, as a representation of the standards and the principles, again, of the flag. You see, Hotepu Neta, divine offerings. They even have one here where they say, well, okay, well, Meru Neta, letters, literature, right? Often coming forth from the words of God, not the alphabets of men, but the words of God, even though characters may be expressed in the book of creation, or they may be expressed in the hieratic. The great God Allah, in his divine dialect, always elevates the consciousness of one to divinity. So everything that a divine prophet bring forth come forth from a level of divinity. We see the hand here, which the hand is symbolic to the mind. You see? We see the hand here. And we see one kneel down in reference to dealing with this drawing, where they are bringing forth their consciousness, because the hand is symbolic to the mind. So that's why that one is drawing forth from the mouth in this special gesture that's being demonstrated here. Bringing forth their consciousness is what this represents. The symbol here would represent an uprightness of that consciousness. You see? And then you have, again, arising in the semicircle. And we can see also what I would call the sacred flame of that consciousness coming forth from a cistern. Now one is really lit, as they like to say, or enlightened. And again, once one becomes fully enlightened, one manifests again as spirit, therefore being God. And this is manifested in the literature. And basically, it's the same thing being stated here as well as we keep going on. Dealing with the script and everything else that come forth from that same drawing. We also have a measure here, as we can see some of the same symbols that we spoke of earlier. We don't have to be redundant with it. That's just dealing with the concept of Hatep. Divine offerings, the gracious one who is gracious will demonstrate, bringing forth, what they are calling here now, Hatepyet. You see, which is the gracious one, or Hatepet, which is offerings, or Hatep Neta, again, oblations, a divine offering. If you ever seen one pour out oblations, you see, this is the divinity. This is wisdom. The prophet is pouring it out now. When we talk about the age of Aquarius, water is synonymous with knowledge. So all of the knowledge that we gain from on high, and you see these as vases and different things that hold, different measures of what we would call water, all those things that hold, divine meals, so to speak. You see, so nevertheless, one is able to pour their consciousness out in order that God may manifest and that peace may materialize in the rising of consciousness. I'm just going over a lot of these different symbols as we going over the definitions, because we really want our family to get this when we talk about the divine state of mind or the divine ministry. You see, so one has to go into the self and really reflect upon the self, upon self-mastery, go within their wilderness and examine the self to be able to see these things. You see, I want to give the definition for wilderness too, because I did have that also up here as well. As you can see here too, before we go to that, notice it says divine condition, and this is actually Neteruet, which is divine condition, a godly state. Now notice if you really pay attention, remember I said this semicircle represents the rising of consciousness, the sun. Now you see a little chick, as they like to call it right here. As one has risen into consciousness, there's a process, and we already know sometimes when we look at the aspect that the chick, as they like to call it, don't even know, that they had to grow through a particular state and come into a particular level of consciousness because they thought somebody else had made them, because somebody else had raised them up. And so they go to acting like other than themselves. But the chick, or the baby bird, in all actuality, as they call it, represents a developing state of consciousness, almost like one walking out of the egg, so to speak. You see, this is the nature of consciousness, and unfolding or awakening into that consciousness. And then one becomes raw energy of divinity. That's what this squiggly little line right here really represents. That's raw energy. You see, these represent the polarities that are within one. The highest state of consciousness and what it is that we have to deal with when we're on the manifest. But yet all of that is necessary where we are now in order for us to come into that divine condition or that God state. And again, have those principles firmly planted within the soil of our soul that we may unfold. Again, that's netterwet is what that is referred to in the definition of the word. I want to go back to this special drawing here that I was demonstrating earlier, though. I want to get into that wilderness and give you some insight in relation to dealing with that, because I went into that as special measure as well. It should be here. That's actually to report. Here it is right here. A wilderness, in most cases, is somewhat like a desert. And here they gave it the definition, and the word that is used here is iatu, what we call at. You see, this is basically also referred to as an injured country. And we can say that we are in a wilderness right here if we're in an occupied state. If somebody else has infiltrated our country, so to speak, and they have us now as captives, we can see this being demonstrated. We can even see it being expressed here. They would tell you this is a symbol that represents the desert often, right? Again, we can see us where we are, so to speak, original owners of the land. And we spiral out of control when we was once in control in a cyclic measure, so to speak. And they actually had a symbol of a leg with a knife basically going toward that leg. And that really would represent someone cutting your ability to travel or circumnavigate, so to speak, or move with motion, so to speak. Someone has stifled your ability to progress. Y'all seen Roots every time. Well, they actually did it after a while. Kunta Kinte was running. He didn't want to be no slave. He didn't want to even take the slave names and all that right there. Kunta Kinte, that's my name. They had to beat him and cut his feet off, in order for him to holler that he was Toby, so to speak. You see? So this is what has happened to our people. So when you're dealing with being in a state where your land is occupied and injuries have taken place, this is why there's necessary for a remedy to be brought on the manifest. And the remedy is being redeemed from our sinful ways. That thought pattern that is of a wilderness, where we can't hear anything. We basically in the desert. Ain't nobody there. So this is why we talk about the prophet earlier pouring, that is special water upon us, because we need it. Who is able to make a valley of dry bones live? but one who has been raised from amongst those dry bones. You see, such a one was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So I just wanted to bring that to the manifest as well, family. So these are some grand drawings, just dealing with what we have before us. If you go on and state it, it says the harbinger had paved the way, and the logos had been introduced to men as love made manifest, and he must now begin his divine ministry. All right now. And for those who don't know, in reference to dealing with the concept, of logos actually means logic. Logos is the plan. You got more be asking about the plan. The logos is the plan. Logos is the blueprint of the ethers by which we demonstrate according to it. And as long as we demonstrate according to our divinity, we can't go wrong in trying to build this temple of perfection. You see? So it says, he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah. This is a desolate place, a place where you can only hear the silent voice of the great God Allah speaking within. Now, you're a mastermind when you can do this, when you're around a whole bunch of people and a bunch of madness. If you can find a wilderness, being right over here where we at with all this noise and distraction that we got going on over here, you God, automatically. With everything that is here to us, I even had some Arab brothers say, man, we have to give honors to y'all for even trying to live, according to the teachings of Islam over here. With all this stuff y'all got going on, the temptation and everything, and that's what this chapter is about too, the tempting and the temptation. You see, they took their hat off to us for that. Just trying to live divine over here. They know it ain't easy because where they come up at, they already know if they get out of line a certain type of way, they can have some real problems over there. So over here, being that it's so loose and people just do what they want to do, it's almost like a miracle to them to see us be transformed by the teachings of Islamism. But that goes to show you that the truth that is crushed to the earth will always rise in greater power. See, all that has to do with some of the stuff I said earlier about being in that divine state, that godly state, that consciousness. You see? Because it was said here, and with himself he talked and he said, my lower self is strong by many ties and I'm bound down to carnal life. So Yehoshua knew that his lower self was strong. He wasn't in denial. He didn't think that he can just overthrow that lower self, that mighty Goliath of an ego. He knew that it was strong. He said it was strong by many ties. And he was bound down to carnal life. This is one that had just come through the chambers of self-mastery, being a mastermind. One who had demonstrated the ministry of love divine. One coming forth to demonstrate divine ministry as a conqueror. But yet he said, my lower self is strong. By many times I'm bound down. Ties, I'm bound down to carnal life. And these are those many ways by which we can be destroyed. Those ties to that old thought pattern that we have. Those ties to that NBC thought pattern, that Negro, black, and colored thought pattern. The ties to the way we used to think. The ties to the things that we used to do. You know how they say, well, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. That's that type of degree. They said it in the Piscean record, but they didn't know it as we are teaching it now. So he said, have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? He was questioning himself. Do I have the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice to men? We want to go back over here and get back to this dictionary. We're going to visit some of these particular words here because I actually have some words in relation to dealing with these drawings. Um, for those who don't know as well, they don't use the term devil in a lot of these measures when you deal with Kemet, but they do use the word demon. And the word uh, Sarek, for example, which means to complain, lay information against, to accuse. See, this is the characteristic of the lower self. Now we know this, we familiar with this because they called Satan the accuser. Everybody know that. If they came up through the Piscean record, they call him the accuser. So here they use the term demon, right? Sarek or Sareki, which is accusation, admonishment, reproach, disrepute. Sarek, again, guilty person, defendant. Somebody that's guilty is always seeking to defend the self. If you ain't guilty, what you feel like you need to defend for? You see, that's one thing to bring clarity, but you don't have to defend, your godhood against nobody if you know you God. But it says also, Sareku, 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 which is accuser, complainer, evil spirit. Sareki, again, accuser, defamer, disease demon, a demon that causes illness. So we see a connection between the accusation, the guilty party, the accuser, the defamer, and we see that this is a disease, a demonic disease, so to speak, that causes illness to the accuser. Oh man, it even says that Serku, also accuser, complainer, represents evil spirit. So it's this spirit that brings the illness. It's the same spirit that is actually a personification of what we call the lower self. It's the lower self that make you think that you can accuse the higher self of not being the higher self. Accuse the higher self of not being God enough. That's why I talk about in the Garden of Eden, it said that, Adam and Eve in the story, in the narrative, they say they approached the tree. One that if they took of it, it will give them the knowledge of God because they didn't believe that there was a God consciousness in them. So it was the serpent, the accuser, that lower self, the serpent within their God, that evil spirit within the self, ain't got nothing to do with somebody outside of the self. That demon that they deemed a living monster, all coming from within. So you begin to question. Anytime you question your divinity, you become an accuser. You are defaming yourself from a higher state of consciousness and what you think you're going to fall into when you begin to complain and when you begin to accuse the God of you as being a mere human. In other words, you think you more man than supreme divinity. When it's actually the other way around. No, you more God than you are a mere man. That's your godly state, your divine state. But if you have a weakness in you, then that complainer, that accuser, that's already there, that causes illness and ill will to you, this dis-ease in the mind, can throw you out of your own garden if you ain't careful. And we can even see in the symbolism here, one manifesting, again, bringing forth from your own mouth, and it's the open mouth, right? Vibrations, you see, that will cause you to fold, because they like to call this a folding, cloth. So it calls you to fold. You see, God don't be in a fold. The human nature well might shrink. The human nature might fall, but God will never fall. It's us that fall from a state of God consciousness into the manifest when it comes to our thinking. So again, we can see many different measures up here dealing with these words, and they have different expressions in the pictorials that are here. We have one here, as we can see, actually standing in defense. Standing in defense of that Lord. So that's that guilty self. And so, I mean, we can go all the way here. Defaming. They go to Reedley. That represents the garden again. You listening to that serpent. Lower vibration. Notice that this symbol, which really represents vibrations, is beneath what was spoken. You listen to it, so now you fell into a lower level of vibration and you folded. You have been defamed. Now you become diseased in your thinking, and now this illness has taken place within one. And this can be physically, mentally, and spiritually simultaneously too. Because our ancestors believed that if we had certain ailments, then there were spirits that came upon one. I remember reading about my ancestor, Uset Ma'at Ray, the brother they know as Ramesu or Ramesses. They said when he was betrayed that there were ones that were trying to conjure up Heka, and they're saying that this was because he had been one who was triumphant. He always won a lot of the battles in the wars that he fought, so to speak, in defending Kemet. But it is said that there's some evidence that ones was trying to conjure up, magic against him. And they saying that this is possibly, the process of the weakening that took place where they could basically come through a door that he didn't observe. You see, so, and take him off the count. And this was people of his own home, his own family, his own son. And one of his wives did this to him. Wee. That's a powerful demonstration now. So nevertheless, yeah, here's another one too, which is Wekdut, which actually deals with pain, disease, demon, a demon that causes pain. This is all lower self. Again, Wapdu, which is pain, inflammation, disease, demon, a demon that causes pain. That's what the lower self loves to do. Didn't they tell Yahushua what you gonna see what he did in the temptation in a minute? We're gonna get to that in a second. I'm gonna show it to you right now. He wanted pain for the God man. Matter of fact, let me go off into this demonstration real quick. Listen to what the tempter said. Now he done already Yahushua already said, he said, have I the strength to overcome and give my life a willing sacrifice for men? When I shall stand before the face of men and they demand a proof of my messiahship, what will I say? He's questioning himself. And then the temper came right in there, right after he had that thought of weakness. All right, since you're going to open the door a little bit, I'm going to come on in here. And then the tempter came in and said, if you be the son of Allah, command these stones to turn into bread. Because this one was on a silent retreat. This one was fasting. Break this fast. Let me win this breakfast fight. If you basically be the son of Allah, go ahead and eat something right now. Because I know you're hungry. Now think about it. We ain't got to even be on no fast. Most of our people, if they feel like they don't have something that will sustain them on the manifest when it comes to food, they'll rob, steal, kill each other, take each other off the count, and they call it, I got to get me some bread. It ain't strange that they call money bread, right? I'm stacking the bread. That's how they talk, So you got people do all these types of things. So you got to be able to resist the temptation. That's what this all boils down to. If you are in your divine state or your right state of mind, you will do it. So it says, Yehoshua said, who is it that demands a test? Now, he was in the wilderness by himself. He questioned himself. So we already know that this was the lower self that was demanding this test. It is no sign that one is a son of Allah because he does a miracle. He reasoned within himself. Devils can do mighty things. Did not the Gentile magicians do great things before his Pharaoh? See, they talking about that hecker that they was conjuring up, in Kemet during the time of Moses. You see, and these were the Hyksos, the Hekakasu, not the original Kemites that was doing this. They weren't even the original people. These were a people who came in there with that mixed spirit. So it says, my words and deeds in all the walks of life shall be my proof of my messiahship. In other words, I'm going to walk it like I talk it, and I'm going to play it like I say it, so to speak, as the young brothers used to say, back in the day. You see, this is going to be the proof of what I demonstrate. By me being in my higher self, this is proof of my messiahship. By me being in a God state of consciousness or a divine state, a living manifestation of the attributes of divinity, this is the proof of my messiahship. And the tempter said, if you will go into Jerusalem then, because it wasn't enough to tell him to make him some bread, right? Get him some bread. If you will go into Jerusalem, now Jerusalem family, if he had to go into Jerusalem, that means he had to come out of Jerusalem at some point. He wasn't in Jerusalem. Jerusalem means a place founded in peace. They even talked about this in the Piscean record when they spoke of one falling from Jerusalem into Jericho. Jericho represents a state of confusion. Jerusalem represents a state of peace. So to fall into the wilderness and fall into a lower state of vibration into your consciousness, you come out of the peacefulness, being content in the garden of your own divinity, and you fall into the manifest. So it says, from the temple pinnacle, cast down yourself to the earth. So we want you to go into your higher self and jump back into NBCdom, back into being just a human, out of divinity into the flesh. If they can get you to do that, then surely, that's what's going on. Anytime somebody try to provoke you to do something that's against your nature of divinity, that's what they're telling you. Cast yourself down from the pinnacle of wisdom to the earth. We want to see some of that earthbound activity. We want to see you act crazy. You see, so it says the people will believe you are the Messiah sent from Allah. Oh man, then it went on. And he said, this you can surely do. It says, for did not David say he gives his angels charge concerning you? And with their hands, it says, will they uphold, lest you shall fall? So this is that lower self now. This is that demon, that diseased mind telling you, well, you supposed to be God, right? If you is God as much as you say you is, then go ahead and jump down from this temple mount. See, this is the pain that demonic self is trying to bring on the manifest. Anytime you see something that you know is forbidden, and forbidden, according to your divinity, and that is wrong to go toward it or partake of it, and you do it, I mean, what you think the outcome gonna be? When you know better, you do better, right? I want to go back over here to my words again, my Kemetic word, because it's a word over here that I want to really get into right here. Let me see, can I pull it up real quick? Where it's at? Not that drawing there. Here it go right here. And this is very important right here. There's a word here, but this is very powerful because it started off with a cord, right? We know that the golden cord of love run through all the commandments of the great God Allah. They also talked about the sash or the shawl. Now, for those who don't know, our prophet demonstrated his sash. You know, the sash is really a symbol that separates the lower self from the higher self. That's what it really represents, you know, and it falls, so to speak, on the east side of the body, you know, meaning to your left. If I was a compass standing in front of you, it represent the eastward point of the compass. But nevertheless, that crossing over at the heart of the sash separates, you know, your intuition and your telepathy, you see, from everything that's beneath that. And also your ability to speak with power, clarity, and authority. Your heart also being united with your words. You see? So this word that they used here was actually reject, rewetch, pardon self, wretched, Warejet here, which is called success as well. So this word is connected to cord, success, and this is favorite. Enduring, permanent. You often hear me talking about the race is not to the swift, but those who endure it to the end. To endure is to flourish as well. See, they have the T12 here. All of these are relative to each other. Even though these are different definitions, they tie into each other. You see? Now, here's another measure having the same symbol, but then it becomes das, das. And then they go back to the same word, warejet, right? Which is prosperous, to prosper. So all of this success, you know, flourishing, prospering, and so forth and so on. You can also see the teacher here, the instructor, teaching you how to subdue, how to tie, the Semitawi degree, as they call it. You see Heru and Set or Sutek demonstrate this in a lot of it, where they tie in this demonstration, right? You also see the symbol of the heart, you know, oneness here in this stroke, and then the teacher. The heart of oneness is dealing with the teacher, and also one basically being successful as a result of heeding the instruction. This is what we call, right here, it states daughter, which means to subdue the foes, to control the temple. So this cord is used to bind that demonic self, bind that lower self, and not be bound to it or bound by it. Subdue the foes to control the temper. That's what Yehoshua had to do dealing with that beast out there in the way. He had to control his temper. Control oneself, which is Dare Ab. See, I told you this represents heart, and that's Ab. Ib Ab. Same thing. This is the heart of man. This is the only way you can heed the instruction and be successful. You see? One being conspired against. It also talks about that. But you subdue the foes that conspire against you. I'm talking about instability. I'm talking about inconstancy. I'm talking about the insufficiency of not. I'm talking about the children of Maya, an illusion that conspire against you. That's that accuser trying to come in opposition to the higher self, coming from the lower self, trying to overthrow you from your divinity. You have to subdue it. But it has to become part and parcel of one's consciousness, the heart. So, I mean, it goes on even to say to crush, to run over, to grope, you see, to finger, It goes into the aspect of crushing that lower self. You see? And it goes back to the same word, reward, ravage, right? Control, administer, gain control, self-mastery over the self. The agent and the emissary is within you. Controller, administrator, guardian, agent, trustee. And we ain't talking about of an organization. You have been entrusted with your divinity to be a master over this body and be a conqueror. So, man, that's a powerful demonstration. Speaking of power, this was another drawing here, which has to do with teneru, a tenir, which strong, efficient. This is powerful, being energetic, heroic, mighty. After we always hear that the higher ego rises up a conqueror. This is you after you receive divine instruction. You see? That oneness, having the ability to speak and manifest all of that which is of the higher state of consciousness and many blessings that come after that. This is where your power comes from. This is the power that exerts itself for the individual at the will of the user. You're able to do then things by being strong and efficient. You're able to do things by being able to demonstrate mighty deeds. You can grow strong. Man, this is powerful. Strength, power, efficiency, powerful deeds, the strong one. See, this is how you become the strength of the great God Allah made manifest. We just putting these things in context, Moorish Ken. You know, this is powerful. You know, when you understand properly what it means to be divine. So all of the things that Yehoshua himself went through was to make him divine. So that he wouldn't have to go through the constant measures, you know, of his descendants going through the same cycle, you know, of birth, death, and rebirth. We even see that up here, you know, in the word Mesetu, which is reincarnation, rebirth, a new body, descendant, offspring. We don't want to pass that illness down to those who come behind us. You see, Yehoshua didn't pass none but divinity to our holy prophet. Our holy prophet didn't pass none but divinity to us. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pass that same God state and God consciousness to those who come behind us. We ain't passing on no disease and dis-ease. That demonic mindset. That's why we got to become masters. That's how you break the curse so that it don't become generational. Nothing wrong with rebirthing a God, but you don't want to rebirth a demon, especially after you had exercised and cast that one out. So again, they even use the word mesunep, which is the solar bark. This is in reference to cycles, you know, the solar cycles in the sun and so forth and so on, the boat of the sun, constant process of rebirth, you know, going down, rising up again, the chick, you see? And all of the blessings that come forth from that. You see, so all of this is not just about us, it's about correcting, restoring that which had become lost. So this is a powerful demonstration, Moorish Ken, when we can come into this drawing. I wanted to go into this measure that has to do with the word overcome too. You know, to overcome, the word kehi, kuyi, is actually elevation, altitude, or height. The high one, sun god, to be higher than, to overcome. This is Prophet Noah Drew Ali, Ahi, right? hui, ahi. So high. And if you notice, you see one actually symbolically lifting up the heavens, because this is said to be a symbol of the heavens, this little bar. You know, you see the Neteru right here lifting up the heavens. Ahi, hui, ahi. Height, to be higher than. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali was the most exalted and most high in elevation amongst us. So it took him to be able to raise us up by many times. You see? Man, that's a powerful demonstration, family. All of this has to do with the cycle of perfection. They tell you here that this represents, you know, the sky, the earth, and even water. This symbol, sky, right? Puat, put, nut, sky goddess. It goes into all that, but nevertheless, this has always been a symbol of the heavens. So when we overcome the lower self, this is how you truly obtain heaven on earth. By overcoming that beast within. But you got to separate yourself. You got to go into what we call the wilderness in order to hear that silent voice, or as our national grand sheik would say, let the peace be still. Then you can experience that heaven or that heavenly consciousness. You see? It ain't strange. Yeah, I like this. I was trying to show this to our family in one of our classes, to our ears classes. And they actually have it here, which is Saba or Seba, which dealing with teaching. But if you notice, you actually see the deity sitting in front of the symbol of the scimitar and the star. The confession, the star, which is a symbol of the flag. This is a powerful demonstration, growing from a chick, so to speak, into a spirit deity. Vibration on high, you won't fold, you gonna manifest blessings, so to speak. You know, we just giving all of this right here, and all this really has to do with the symbol that represents the star, you know, and what it actually demonstrates as it relates to dealing with cycles. See, Musketu, that's the constellation that we always refer to as the Big Dipper, right here. That's our flag right there in ancient Kemet. We was talking about planting the principles or the seed within the soil of the soul that we may unfold. You know, this is what we're talking about. This is what you do when you go into meditation. You're trying to come into that divinity. You see? Here's another measure dealing with the cycle of what they call Wimesu, which is Renaissance repeating the births. A Renaissance is a good thing, because most of the time you're dealing with an upheaval, you know, in a grand building of something that has been destroyed. You see, the prophet said he was going to repeat itself. You know, where this represents a cycle. The prophet speaking from on high right now. He spoke through his grand body. He spoke through his grand national chairman. He spoke through all of us. Every time we come forth to teach our people, the prophet is repeating himself. He brought what the harbinger, which was a herald, because that's what a herald is, a harbinger, one who actually laid a foundation before him. He recycled the demonstration and brought forth a renaissance, a Moorish renaissance. And that's why you see a Moorish American government on the manifest. See this word again? Wim, which means to repeat, report, speech, brut abroad, or what we call spokesman. Repeat it again. This is why we tell you the prophet is not dead. Here's another measure going into it: the report, speech, do again, herald, to take anew, or make anew, if you will. Once again. See, this ain't spooky, family. We bringing you into the consciousness of divinity, and all of this was done through metaphysics. You know, so this is a powerful demonstration In the end, though, going back to our chapter, it was said, and let me make sure, because we're getting ready to open up the floor to our family right now. Give me 1 second after I give this particular drawing here, and we finna open up the floor. So it's stated here in our chapter as we went on. Yehoshua said, I would not tempt the Lord my God, Allah. Then the tempter came and said, look forth upon the world. Behold his honors and his fame. Behold his pleasures and his wealth. If you would give your life to these, they shall be yours. Everybody want a little money, huh? Everybody want to be wealthy, huh? Yehoshua said, away from me, all tempting thoughts. My heart is fixed. In other words, fixed in divinity. I spurn this corner self with all its vain ambition and its pride. For 40 days did Yehoshua wrestle with his corner self. His higher self prevailed. He overcame, family. That's what we was talking about a few minutes ago. He then was hungry, but his friends had found him and they ministered to him. Then Yehoshua left the wilderness, and in consciousness of the holy breath, he came into the camps of John and taught. After everything he went through, proper preparation prevented poor performance. So he was well, duly, and truly prepared for the journey along the way. His veteran beast was well set up for the journey along the way. And that's what we got to be, Moorish kin. So when we go back to the circle, being perfection in the seven and the prophet manifesting all of that and being all of that, we got to be the same thing. And once we're able to do that right there, we can bring our people into a God state of consciousness. God consciousness, that is. This is what must be done. Just that, like Noble Drew Ali in his divine ministry, demonstrated to the wilderness, by going into the wilderness for self-examination, we got to do the same. So Islamism. At this time, what I want to do, I want to open up the floor to our family so that they can bring forth their measures, and give their comments, whatever it is they have to demonstrate. Islam. So *6 your phone more. Is there any more that would like to come forth and exercise their fire?
Islam.
All right, Islam, Sister Curta Bay, what have you to say, Goddess and Queen? We know you ain't scared.
I know that's right.
Islam,
Islam
it's
is
the end of the day. Islam.
Islam, great Islam. First, let me rise and give praises to the great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act One. I give honors to all my government officials, and I give honors to you, National Sister Grand Chief, for this. Woo-wee, this powerful class tonight. Oh man, I'm just on fire. I don't know why everybody ain't rushing in to give their measure, but I know I am, and I'm still contemplating all that you said, all that you brought forth, and I'm sitting here trying to write down some notes and take some notes. So I'm definitely going. I'm overwhelmed by the fact that we are able to see what you're talking about in those slides that you brought forth. Oh, woo, we got, man, I tell you, those are so powerful to be able, and I encourage my Moorish kin who are out there to go back and look at the playback and look at the slides and how you just broke all those things down, how you talked about the set net to I think it was. Like I say, I was trying to write fast, can't hardly read my own writing. And you talked about the divinity, the divine state, and then how you showed us how the different birds, the hawk, what they representing the spirit, and the little three light I call them little blocks and things, how that represent plurality. Oh man, it's just so much. Great God Allah has revealed to me, just sitting here listening to you and talking about the being divine, the divinity within us. And even when you talked about how the sash, our prophet wears that sash, and how that separates the lower self from the higher self. Oh, it's just so much. Woo! It's so much that you brought forth. And then the main thing that stood out to me, the last thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, and you was talking about how we sometimes, and I thought about how we was ingrained to think of ourselves as just being a mere man. But like you say, we are more God than we are man. But being born here in this West, we was programmed that we was nothing but just basically what they used to tell us: you ain't nothing but old sinner saved by grace. And see, none of that. When you got a mindset like that, you can't even think about yourself being divine and having that divinity within you. And last but not least, when you talked about, us giving, nothing wrong with giving rebirth, nothing wrong with rebirthing a God. I love that. But you don't want to rebirth some demons. And I tell you that this whole class is just so powerful for me. It's so much more I could say, but I'm going to stop right there because I know our Moorish kin out there have some things to say too, because I'm just excited, God, man, and gratitude, and keep doing what you're doing, because I tell you, these teachers are not only setting us free, but it's setting all of our Moorish kin out there. It's setting them free. Gratitude, God, man. Keep doing what you're good doing. We love you. Peace and love. Islam.
Islam, and peace and love to you as well, goddess and queen, for that drawing. Islamism. And gratitude. Well, all right.
Islam?
Islam. Brother Marvin Edwards Bay, what have you to say, Consul General?
Oh, gratitude, National Assistant Grand Sheik, Dr. Shedo Minty Mohaji Shefwell. Gratitude for calling me. Yes, I am Dr. Marvin Elvis Bay, Consul General of the Texas Consulate, rising, giving all praises to the great God Allah, giving highest honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali. Give high honors to our theocratic government, our Moorish American government. Give high honors to our Act 1. I give high honors to all of our officials. I give high honors to this class, our Moorish Perspectives class, as well as I give honors to everything that is Moorish. Our flag, our seal, our emblem, our divine constitution, Holy Quran, Book of Ali, a 101, 102s, or exhument of a nation. All of our divine revelation, I give honor. Give honor to all those that aided in bringing forth our class this evening. Oh man, this is a very powerful class. Give honors to you again, National Assistant Grand Sheik, for hosting and instructing this Moorish Perspectives class. And I give honors to those that gave their measures before me. And, I'm not going to make an excuse about moving about, but when I listen to you and observe going over the lessons, you actually, to me, it was a paradigm shift, because you actually went into those you want to call those glyphs, not the glyphs, but the hieroglyphs. You know what I mean? You broke the real meaning to them, the metaphysical meaning. You know what I mean? Not the symbol as a letter. You know what I mean? Which is I thought was very powerful. It opened my eyes even more. You know what I mean? So it just bears witness that we need to come together. We need to appreciate everything that the Prophet brought us. We need to appreciate this Moorish American government. We need to appreciate each other. You know what I mean? Having come out of her, as one of the lessons was said, come out of her. Yes, we came out of that Negro, colored, black, African American mentality. You know what I mean? Those names allude to slavery. Okay, so we know that now. You know what I mean? But coming here in our Morris American government, we are enabled, you know what I mean, to bear witness. You know what I mean? Because, after, as we study these lessons, we elevate, you know what I mean? And elevation is the order of the day, you know what I mean? To be exhumed, as our grand chairman wrote in the autobiography of Noble Drew Ali, Exhuming of a Nation. To be exhumed, whole and intact, and as we come in exhumed, then we can come forth and give our measures of enlightenment, but you really open the door for all of our people to see the truth of what has been hidden from us all of this time, over the years, and even to today. They will continue. They're not going to let up. So we're going to have to take it and save ourselves. That's the only way it is. But it's just a powerful class, and I'm so grateful for being here, being amongst the scribes, being amongst the hierophants, because we all have that hierophant within, telling us, showing us, revealing to us the truth. So I mean, it's just a beautiful thing, and I just have to continue to study, to continue to elevate. And I just say gratitude, God, man, for you, for all that you do, all that you tirelessly do. It's just a powerful thing. And I just say, God, man, gratitude for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
In Islam and peace. And gratitude for the measure, brother. We give honors to you for that grand draw, and praise be to Allah. All right.
Islam. Islamism, grand man. Praise be to Allah for this class. Islam, I am Dr. Gerald Hamid Muhammad Bey, Consul General of the South Carolina Consulate. I want to rise in praise of the great God and Father of the universe. I want to give honors to his holy prophet, our holy prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to our Moorish American government. And I want to give honors to our Moorish American nation. And I want to give honors to everything Moorish. And I want to give special honor to all of our guests, visitors, and supporters that are on this grand demonstration that you brought forth, National Assistant Grand Sheik. Gratitude for the lesson and the blessing, as our Grand Sheik says. Wow, like the Moor said, Grand Man, you covered so much ground. There were certain aspects that stood out for me, when you was giving the class. I think one of the ones, when you first start off, you talk about the divine state, dealing with heaven and existence, being, the state of being, the rise of divine consciousness, right, from the lower state. And, one other thing, it was that Rowett or RWD, that really hit me, when you talk about that chord, the success, the enduring, the permanence, the flourish, the prosperous. And then it went into the dire or the dear, whichever one is correct, Grandman, because I'm learning. And to control one's self. All of this, in this Sacred Grove University here in the Moorish American government, all of us are students. And in the lessons, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, he said, if he could just get me to thinking, if he could just get us to thinking, we would save ourselves. Save ourselves from what? Evidently, if he's making a statement like that about our thinking. Something's wrong with my thinking. And this is, of course, a result of being in a Eurocentric society with a Eurocentric culture, a Eurocentric mindset, indoctrination, 400 plus years. So he's telling us, as the scriptures say, don't be conformed to this world. Be transformed by the renewing of our minds. So some would say, well, it says we suffer for the lack of knowledge. No, knowledge is just information. The scripture also says seek understanding. And then one has to have the knowledge of the truth, as you're always iterated. So what I saw in this, in the divine lesson again, that we learn in this as students in this sacred grove, everything that you spoke about this evening, for me as a student, I know there are many degrees of understanding. I heard the teachings of what we call our 3-step pyramid, which consists of belief, faith, and fruition. All of us coming into this sacred grove are coming from a state where at one time we believed in a certain way. We actually believed the knowledge that we had, or the understanding that we had, that it was correct. That was a belief, without any proof or fact that that belief was true. But we transform as we begin to get this knowledge of the truth that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought to us. It ignites a transformation from belief into knowing. And once we know something, then belief becomes obsolete. And as we begin to know more and more and more, as we begin to become at one with what we know to be the truth, this again is a transformation and a transition from being part of what we know to the fullness of what we know. This is what we refer to as fruition, where we become actually a living manifestation of the truth. And this is what the culmination of what I received tonight. Insight, actually, you gave us a journey going into those 3 steps of unfoldment to the fulfillment, as it said, in being in that divine state, being in that supreme truth, where the truth and the individual, whoever it might be, a group of individuals, they represent the mind, the state, the truth, the spirit, the reality of God in the flesh. And this is, as you said, you might see a brother, you might see a sister, but when they're in this state of divinity, another one of our lessons, we're taught that the great God and Father, whom we call Allah, speaks to man through man. And this is what we were receiving tonight. Not trying to stroke, but those who recognize. Because any time that truth is being put forth, it is the voice of the great God speaking through the temple of the flesh of whichever individual or individuals that it comes to. This is just my humble understanding. This is a grand class, my brother. Peace, love, and honor. Thanks for letting me share. Islam.
And peace, love, and law as well to you as well, grand man. We give honors to you for that drawing, Brother Muhammad Bey. Praise be to Allah. Islamism. Well, all right. Islam, Islam, Islam. All right, brother and sister, whoever it is that would like to come forth, the floor is still open for you to come forth and exercise your wisdom. Okay. We don't have anyone that would like to come forth and get their drawing.
Islam, grand man.
Islam, brother Muhammad Bey.
With your permission, in reference to the ayat, may I add to my measure?
Go ahead, brother.
Okay, Islam. Another thing that you've made perfectly clear, and this is really, really important, and I'm saying this from the basis of where most of us come from. Most of us come out of the church, or we've had some type of connection or encounter with the teachings of the church. And this particular teaching about whom they called Jesus, Yehoshua, his true name, being tempted in the wilderness, it was presented to us as though this was some type of entity outside of himself. This was the devil. This particular teaching makes it perfectly clear, as it says, that he went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart. So Prophet Noble Drew Ali give us divine instructions. In one of the lessons, he said, if you would seek your devil, look within. So there's no devil in this particular teaching outside of the self. This is talking about what we're taught in the sacred grove as the lower self. Notice he's talked about the carnal things, the carnality of the self. And the grand man was teaching the lesson on that we have to overcome. Oh man, that was a grand demonstration. We have to be overcomers of the carnality of the flesh. And in a sense, this is like a crossing over, rising above, as he said in one of the demonstrations, rising above those impulses, those emotions, those illusions that the five senses of the flesh send to our minds. And this is why the prophet told us, man, we love our beloved prophet. We must purify our hearts and our minds. I have to purify my thinking. As Swift Angel number 1 always instructs us, we put ourselves into the teaching because it's the study of the self to find the truth, to be able to distinguish the truth from the falsehood so that we can rise, overcome all of the inclinations, as it said in one of the lessons that he brought, talking about the foes. You know, in the scripture, it says that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. So we have to overcome the wiles and the inclinations of the flesh. And that's just what I want to, like it says, and note its strength and worthiness. See, we're not talking about looking into a physical heart. This heart only pumps blood. It's talking about what we call the center of one's being. You know, where my thoughts are actually coming from. to take time to actually think about what I'm thinking about before I speak and before I act. And of course, this is a process, family. It's not instant coffee. Just because you read it or you see it or somebody tells you about it. No. There's a purging, a cleansing process that has to go through. But if you hold on to that rope, as it says, that golden cord, if you hold on to that golden cord of love, if you really love the truth with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, victory is assured. And that's what we say here in this sacred grove. Allah is leading on, and victory is assured. Islam and gratitude. Thanks for letting me add on to my measure, grand man. This is a grand class. Peace and love.
Islam, gratitude, peace and love. All right. Islamism.
Islam?
Islam, Brother Marvin Edwards Bay.
Yes, sir. I don't know. I mean, this was a wonderful class. And yes, if I may, I'd like to add on to my drawing.
Yeah, Islamism. You might as well, grand man.
Yes, sir. Gratitude. National Sister Grand Sheik. Yes, yes, I am Dr. Marvin Ellis Bay. And praise and honor have been given. But like, I was listening and, thinking about this class, because this is a very powerful class. And you brought it really home, you know what I mean, as to what the prophet's teaching is trying to get us to do. You know what I mean? You talk about that wilderness. Each and every one of us, you know what I mean, have to go within that wilderness. You know what I mean? Within that space. You know what I mean? And like the brother mentioned, purging. You know what I mean? And we like to say purifying our hearts and minds. You know what I mean? We have to study. And I'm gonna just read this one point here out of the Hadiths and prophecies and the Moorish literatures of the prophet. A good Moorish leader must study his holy Quran and divine constitution and bylaws. These holy and divine laws are for the guidance and protection of a pure nation of people. A good Moorish leader realizes finite mind cannot comprehend those things infinite. So they must study in order to lead aright. So, we just got to study. I mean, that's the point I see. That's the only way we're going to elevate is to study. I mean, we can't just, wish it, wish ourselves out of this. We're going to have to study. And then when we study, we're going to have to act, So, this is what I wanted to bring on because you made it plain today, tonight about going into that wilderness. Like Yehoshua, he was a mastermind. He was a prophet. But, as he went through his, study, his travels, he had to still deal with that lower self. And we will continue to deal with that lower self. But then if we are fixed in our minds and hearts and deeds, we will overcome. There won't be no problem. Gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Islam and gratitude, Islamism, brother, for the droid. I see I got a full panel up here. And I see our brother trying to get in here. Can we get somebody to cam down? I'm going to see if Brother Heru Ma El Bay want to get in here. Islam, Brother Asher Smith Bay.
That's divine family. That's the number 156 day. I want to keep it case and the family can get in. Because as we say, after the 7th and last is 9-hour time. And as we don't know, the 10 commandments play something as a family and kids talk about the wilderness. That's all what we have to talk about some seed that plant and we grow and such and so on. As I said, we are the seed of this new era of time, the 60 million person North American national. Because as I said, so much going down here. But as I said, once a month, be the self. And as I said, we come back home to understand the mind of the Moorish American National. Divine family, one love.
And one love to you as well, Brother Golden Asher Smith Bay. I want to call on our brother Heru Ma'at El Bay because he's been sitting over there for a minute. Are you there, Brother Ma'at El Bay? If you have a drawing, you can come forth and give it.
Islam.
Islam, grand man.
Islamism. Let me first rise and give all praise to our Father God Allah, honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honor to the Moorish American government, honor to you for hosting this beautiful class. It was definitely a grand demonstration, even just to have the blessing. And it's just honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali once again for leading us and being our guide back to salvation so we can rise in divinity. It's just a grand measure that you brought forth, and then we can just see how divinity is made into the matter, and how we can see how we are this divine revelation, and we are the manifestation here, sent to be the blessing. And this blessing is a blessing of love. The prophet, he told us to love instead of hate. And I see this is the grand demonstration from our divine ministry, learning how to imitate our prophet. The prophet said, I'm playing love and imitate the prophet and be like me. And so this divine ministry is this is something that we all have to look forward to. And it's just a blessing to be able to get these divine lessons every day and be in these sacred groves to where we can not only just hear divine revelations like this, where we get these treasures of divinity that's been held back from us from ages. These things are not just symbols like you spoke of in regards to the letters and the words, but these are divine thought patterns that have been held back from us. But now we have the choice, and we have the position to and to to choose, and we have chose to come together and to teach each other how to be ourselves. And so it's just a grand revelation that we can be ourselves and have a choice, and just to be the love that we were born to be. And it was just a grand revelation, and it's just a blessing to be yourself, because so long we were taught how to hate ourselves, hate our image, and these things were ingrained into us. And so it's just a blessing that we can even be talking about love in the divine ministry today. So I was just here, just just listening to your divine revelation. And I just would love to hear all the Moors and the other divine ministers give their revelation on this Moorish perspective, because that's what it's all about, is hearing from the Moors, and it's really about our prophet. Islam and peace.
Islam and peace. Yes, sir. And that's a grand drawing, grand man. And on that note, we want to give honor to all the Moors who came forth to give their measures, those who wanted to speak but didn't speak. And honors to all of those who tuned in, our family out there. We always acknowledge you. I see our brother, Mari Bontas, he say, are your thoughts you, or it come from someone else? Man himself is the thinker, family. And so we the love thought made manifest. So we always manifest our thoughts from a level of divine originality and divinity. And that's what we trying to get our people to demonstrate as well. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, if he can just get our Moors to thinking for themselves, then they can save themselves. You know, and our brother asked also PNF, he asked the question, he said it's Tafnik, you know, which is actually the script of the Maghrib used to decipher the Metanetta or Demotic, you know, and we don't use alphabets to decipher Metanetta. We use metaphysics, you know, because alphabets limit your ability to give the best of it. And you can always get greater revelation through the metaphysics than what the European tried to come up with a so-called decipherment, in which they ain't deciphered nothing yet. So our brother Noble Brian L. Want to give honors to you. You know, our brother said this class right here is the reason I tune in faithfully to the Moorish perspectives. The importance of being in our right minds and unfolding into love divine is needed the most at this time. Gratitude for that. Islamism without the schism. So what we're going to do, we're going to call forth our officials now. You know, and we say gratitude to everybody who showed up, all of you, family in the YouTube world. Honors to you. All right. Let's call forth our beloved goddess and queen, Assistant Grand National Secretary of Moorish America, Sister Offset Moon El. Islam. Are you there, goddess and queen?
Islamism, grand man. The goddess is not available this evening. She's on a mission at this time.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Well, we'll move along then. Gratitude, brother, for that report. But let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Kunshu, Mark Herube, Islam. You there, Grand Mufti?
Islam.
Islamism.
So religion, gratitude. Grand Wolf calling us forth. We rise, giving all thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and praise to the only one worthy of those things, the great God of the universe, our Father God, Allah, most beneficent and most wise. And we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet, our prophet, the last prophet in these days and in these times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the savior of humanity. We give honor to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honor to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live, according to Act 6. We give honor to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers and swift angels, mufti and royal council and secretaries. We give honors to our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag, our divine constitution and bylaws, our holy Quran, our Grand National Seal and Grand National Emblem, and our Book of Fire. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honor to you, National Sister Grand Sheikh, Dr. Shadu, and many Amedi Shepsi, for bringing forth the Moorish perspective this evening. We give honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, Angel. Continue to give honors, while honors are due, and honoring all true and divine prophets. Yes, we give honors to our ancestors, as they have come before us, leading the way. And we are them today without doubt or contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. Praise Allah for that. And also give honors to all our well-wishers, supporters, those who have come to hear the gospel, the good news, and that we have been sent the prophet to redeem us from a simple thought pattern and the battle of a slave captivity. It's been a grand class, and drawing off Ali going into the wilderness to get acquainted with the law, so that one can a better draw of themselves. It's always a very important theme, very important step for each and every one of us as we wake up to the divinity of ourselves, to go about emulating You know, being the wilderness just meaning one being out on their own, out of the city or out of the cares of the world of fast life and society, and a social construct, going to oneself where it's quiet, you know what I mean, where the natural law rules, and get once again acquainted with the God that created all these things. Because we find, idols that are made by men when we get into these cities, when we get into the public, because of one's understanding. You know, man's God today, tomorrow is not his God, because as man unfolds, as God unfolds. And so it's very important that we each, every one of us, take that step into the wilderness, just like Ali, and get acquainted with ourselves, get acquainted with Allah in us, because then we have a grand measurement of or a standard of what we hope to achieve, what we strive to get to, and it's not something that is a mere concept or opinion of man, but the ultimate divine purity of a thing, purity of oneself. And so we have to respect those that have come before us, making that sincere journey to help steer us back towards a more marvelous light, and also bring forth their life effort in the purpose of bringing some kind of aid and relief to our situation that we have here this day. When dealing with mental slavery, dealing with a people who, rather be enslaved than rather take care of themselves. They want to take the blue pill, not the red pill. They in the matrix. You want to continue to be a fool or ignorant, really, because you can't be not stupidity. Because once you choose the pill, then you're choosing to ignore the truth that is, was, and evermore to be. And that brings about a repercussion. The ones have to pay for themselves, and so it's best that one gets real still in this day and time and look at all that's going on, all the not the odd, but the not that's going on in the world, collective and around one, and take the time to go into the wilderness of self, go into, isolate oneself from the cares of the world and tune oneself back up to one's true destiny. Because just like we've seen over there in Turkey, Syria, these ones had that 7.8 earthquake, killed thousands and thousands of people. The technology didn't save them. The mere ideals of man didn't save them. The natural law is the one, in the end, is going to continue to show that has the most power. And so, think about all those people who just lost their life, and all they were doing was trying to accumulate things, accumulate wealth that didn't have any, in the end, didn't do them any good as far as their soul, and so far as the benefit of their soul on this journey of many ages. So let's not get caught up in that. Let's find the importance in knowing ourselves and bettering ourselves, because in the end, that's where the true credit side of life comes in. So gratitude for the call, the class this evening, Sister Grand Sheik, and gratitude to you, Orange America, for being here with us and giving us your time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
In Islam and peace to you as well, National Grand Mufti. We give honors to you and all that you do. Honors to your tribe. Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. All right. Let us call forth our Grand National Secretary of the State of Moorish America, Sister Shepsu Rakat Ma'at and Pooh, to come and bay. Islam, you there, goddess and queen?
Islam Moore, can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear with the man ear. You just got to mute, probably mute out your phone. You're speaking through your computer.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there you go.
I'm like, what in the world? I tell you, Rome never built nothing to last. Islam, Islam, Islam. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah. Giving honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days and times. Giving honor to our Moorish American government, all of our officials, staff, angels, muftis, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shedawa Menti Al-Mohajid Chepsuel, for opening our meeting according to law. Also to our National Grand Secretary, State of Indiana, Dr. Sayanati Nuhetharu L, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. Giving a special honor to you, Dr. Shahid, our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, for our Grand Moorish Perspectives class tonight. And I tell you, woo-wee, this was so powerful, such a grand measure. And coming from our subject chapter number 37, and our subject being ayat 2, and Ali went forth into the wilderness to be alone with Allah, that he might look into his inner heart and note its strength and worthiness. And I tell you, Dr. Shahi, when you were bringing forth the hieratic measures, also the definitions, it put a higher level of understanding on it, especially when you were dealing with the wilderness. And we recognize the fact that all of these lessons, including what our prophet had to go through, what the prophets before him had to go through, you have got to be able to go within the self, to note your own higher self, the things that are dealing with your immortal virtues, the love, the truth, the peace, freedom, and justice within yourself. And also note your own weaknesses, those things that keep you bound down to this plane of things made manifest. And it's up to you to be able to conquer these things that are of no benefit and no worth, so that you can unfold into the God state. So contrary to popular belief, yes, even the prophets had to study, they had to learn, and they had to deal with the mastery of the self. So it's not strange that we are in these sacred groves and have to deal with these special lessons for ourselves. And it was so beautifully done when you were speaking about aspects of the lower self coming from Saray, SRH, to complain, a disease being, demonic thought pattern that causes illness. And we see how our prophet, when he spoke about that state in which our people were in, dealing with mental slavery, and we can see the correlation between it on a national scale, but we recognize this was the divine wrath, but also that Allah had enough mercy to send to us a prophet. And when I was looking at, as you were speaking about, one of those signs dealt with the desert, it caused me to go back to that chapter dealing with gratitude. And because IB is symbolic of the heart, and we're speaking about that inner heart. We're not talking about that heart in the chest, but we're speaking about the mind state. And when you look at the chapter on gratitude, where it speaks about the heart of the grateful, is in essence the blessings that they have received. They don't mind sharing it with their brothers and sisters. They don't mind bringing forth these special treasures, because it's part of our duty and our mission to aid and assist our brothers and sisters along the way. But when you look at the heart of the ungrateful or the selfish person, selfish self, it's making it analogous to that desert of sand, which takes these same blessings and keep it to itself and produce nothing. So this is not what we are here in our Moorish American government designed to do. It is up to us, and part of our duty and nature, what is natural to us, is to be able to give freely of the blessings that we have. And this is also showing our mode of gratitude to our Creator. The other thing that was very powerful in reference to going into Jerusalem, which we see the Salam dealing with a peaceful state and falling into that state of Jericho or that state of confusion. And see, no matter how we receive these lessons, because you notice our ancestors, it was there during the time of Kemet and down through the ages, you may see these lessons in various forms, but it's still saying the same thing, that God's state within us has got to be able to conquer that lower aspect of ourselves in order to unfold into the gloriousness of being a spirit and a part of the great God Allah, the consciousness of recognizing who we are. And when we are able to see the various things within ourselves, then we are able to be able to discern if something's coming at us, dealing with provocation or what have you. But it's all pivoting around being able to have mastery over your own mindset. You cannot demonstrate your God powers if you're dealing with a dirty thought pattern. You can't demonstrate your God powers if you're holding on to hate or if you're competing against one another. You know, this is not how you grow and unfold. So once you get rid of these negative aspects, yes, you are demonstrating that state of divinity. And, you know, this is just a grand measure, Dr. Shahid, especially when you brought the hieratic words coming from our forefathers. And we see that our prophet brought these lessons to us. And this is why we as a people are so grateful, because it gives us an insight on why it is that we have been suffering for so long. You know, when we return back to our state of divinity, there is no more pain and suffering. So it's just been a grand measure, recognizing the fact that, as Yehoshua stated, as our prophet has stated, what I have done, you can do also. You know, so gratitude more for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
Islamism, Grand National Secretary of the State. That's a powerful demonstration there. Islamism. You know, and oh man, all I can say is as great it was, it is, you know, and basically ever more to be what it is. You know, praise be to the great God Allah. And we give honors for that express measure. And also want to give honors to all of our Moorish kin who demonstrating that staying power. Well, all right. Peace and love. All right, let us call forth our national grand chairman, our grand national chairman, pardon himself, Dr. Akinakton Pert M. Eru to coming back. Islam, you there, grand man?
Close to the thought. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. We hear the love, thought, and everything you brought.
We give praise to Allah and honor the Prophet Noble Dua Ali, the last prophet of these days and time, the seventh angel, the Adept, the one that brought us everything to save ourselves as a nation. He brought us our own government, man, the history of our own forefathers, our flag, a symbol, emblem, everything. Oh, man. Joe Ali didn't leave out nothing more than for this reason, you know, we have now our divine ministry. So I want to give much honor to our chapter, because our chapter is dealing with the ministry of the Moorish American total. This is really what it boils down to, the totality of the Moorish American. So you can wrap it up all kinds of ways that you want to, but Moors is a divine as well as a national movement. Most of us get caught up on the national part and forget about the divine part. But you cannot forget about who made you. I mean, there's no getting around that. That's the first question in the questionnaire: who made you? So when we take a real good look at it, look at your medallion, look at your sign and symbol, look at your divine constitution. Everything that we have is about divinity. And it's a wonderful thing, more. I'm just so pumped up right now, man. Good gracious. We love you. We'll pass it on. Islam. Thank you.
Islamism. We give honors to you, grand man. That's a powerful measure brought forth from the treasures, Chairman. Praise be to Allah. Ooh-wee. Also, we want to give honors. I see our brother JJ7000 out there. We want to give honors to the brother, Sister Wooten Bay again. All of the Moors that checked in. And keep visiting the channel, family. The best is yet to come. Speaking of the best, man, let me call on my National Grand Sheik, Dr. Serapis Zaman Rael. Islam, you there, grand man?
Islam, next to the breathing breath.
Islamism.
Islam, we give a lot of praise as we ride. And we give the highest honor to his love prophet Abdul, who brought us everything it takes for us to be free. I seal the emblem, the Constitution, which is Book of Fire, Book of Ali, everything. I must keep the guards, the precious throne of the mighty Allah, secretaries of various states throughout Moorish America, grand tidings to Moorish America, to you, AGS, for this splendid, thought-provoking presentation this evening, giving one a drawing off of the throwback and the comeback after the throwback, showing one the matter of bringing a lesson before the multitude, and one scrutinizing and get the full meaning out of it. And it has many directions that it ends up in. But the point is that it's not laying down in the soft, sun, not giving one a drawing. Everyone is basically giving their opinion, and it is saturated with the holy blessings of love. And this is a current and continuing aspect of our domain here in Moorish America. We don't draw nothing that is unfolding, but we look at that as unfolding. And each night we get a little bit stronger. Praise Allah for you and all that you do, and all of the generals, ambassadors, different officers, and our citizens, this grand demonstration. Praise Allah for you. January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in the homes, on the streets. We're for peace but not destruction. Stop planting cards and Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failing to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice then will take its course. Any citizen or group of citizens in malicious feelings towards the government or the public or violating the divine government of the Moorish movement will receive their reward for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law is laid down to them by the prophet. They lose competition in the prophet. It should turn in their garden, but he's going to tell the affairs and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is the holy divine movement founded by the prophet Abdul Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine people all more spread. They do their part and protect their prophet and the government. This is an everlasting government. movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. For all the prophet of duality. This warning carefully lies within the bounds of Ali's holy and divine law. Islam. Ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the rest of one mother has given thee son. Bond of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, and peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when you set foot in the world, remember the relations that bind you, the love and unity, burn down the strength of our own blood, our brothers in adversity, assist him, and sisters in trouble, second nine, so shall the fortune of our body. Contribute to support of the soul race, and this care be continue to you all, and your love to each other. Islam. Voice America, we love you. Long live Voice America. Peace, love, and love. See you the next day. Islam. Great class. Great class.
Peace and love, Moors.
Great class, Dr. Shaheed.
Love you.
Great class. Great
Islam.
class, brother Shaheed.
Islam.
Great
Islam.
class, brother. Celebrate the more. Make the more think.
Islam, Moors. We love you.
Love you, Grand Sheik.
We love you with love and divinity, Moors.
Love you, Fourth Angel number one.
This session is
Islam.
Voice America.
All right, Moors.
Islam.
Get ready for that Sunday school class tomorrow where the guides and the guiders of the nation derive and derive from Islam.
Praise Allah.
Islam. Peace and love.
Islam, another divine blessing.
Love you, Act One.
Goodbye.
Islam. Love is mutual, family. Peace and love, Moors. Gratitude.